All right. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about WhatsApp. First, we're going to start with a video, though. So how many of you have sent an SMS in the last couple of weeks? All right, I'd say that's almost all of the room. How many of you have used WhatsApp in the last couple of weeks? Still a lot of you, but a few more tentative hands. This isn't actually that surprising, considering I asked this question to an audience in the US. If I had asked this question maybe in another country, we could probably expect the majority of hands to be raised. Now, how many of you have international customers? For those of you who do, you may already know that in some places, SMS isn't the best way to reach your customers. It might be that it's too expensive, or maybe the deliverability isn't all that great, but for whatever reason, people in some places have turned to other platforms, such as WhatsApp. 4 years ago, WhatsApp had about 600 million users on their platform. Now, as of 2017, I believe, WhatsApp has over 1.5 billion active users. Of these, 320 million of them are in India and Brazil combined. Worldwide, users are sending over 50 billion messages daily. Until recently, as a developer, you couldn't really reach these customers through WhatsApp. However, as of a couple months ago, with the launch of the WhatsApp Business API, you can now be where your customers are. Like I said, we're going to be talking about WhatsApp today. There's a handful of us for this talk. I'm Julie. I'm a software engineer on the channels messaging team here at Twilio. Brett will also be talking shortly, also a software engineer on the messaging team at Twilio. After that, we'll hear from some folks from Deliveroo. Rama, we heard from this morning in the keynote, as well as Anne and Amy. For our portion of the talk, we're going to start by looking at channels in general at Twilio before diving into the WhatsApp Business API and a little bit more about our implementation of WhatsApp at Twilio. So first of all, what is a channel? Channel is simply a communications pipeline. It could be anything, such as being able to pick a phone call that would be going over a voice channel. It could be an SMS. For the purpose of this talk, we're mostly going to look at non-SMS-based messaging channels. Some of these channels will support a rich messaging set, so that might be that they have the ability to send title cards or format your message in another way, or maybe you can embed buttons or other actions into the message. However, not all channels support this. Currently, we support 4 channels at Twilio. They are Line, WhatsApp, Google RCS, and Facebook Messenger. As you can expect, if you want to send a basic text message through any of these channels, there's probably a lot of similarities involved. Let's look at, you probably need to, for sending a message, you probably need a to, a from, some sort of body, or maybe a media. You'll also need to authenticate your message somehow. All of these are sent over HTTP to a REST API endpoint. So there's a lot of similarities. However, you can imagine there's also a lot of differences involved in each one of these platforms, as they've all chosen to do things a little bit differently. As engineers, we didn't want to be writing and developing duplicate code. So instead, we decided to create a highly flexible system to do some of this for us. Let's take a look at that. First of all, if you're sending a channels message through Twilio, you're using the same API that you would be if you're sending an SMS through Twilio. So I have an example of a curl request for an SMS message and a curl request for a WhatsApp message. You can see these are identical. The only difference here is that we've prepended the from and the to number with the word WhatsApp. Line is a similar story. However, Line doesn't use phone numbers for their addressing. They're using a user ID, so we have Line prepended, or Line then that user ID. But for the most part, these are all identical other than the from and the to. We've normalized these messages for you, so you don't have to code changes and be making changes to your application, or at least nothing major, if you want to be sending through a different channel. Once you've sent your message to Twilio, we receive it at our messaging gateway. When we were building out our channels infrastructure, we decided not to start from scratch, but rather to use some of what we already had. By leveraging the existing SMS infrastructure, we were able to make use of features that we had already built for it, such as the ability to queue messages or rate limit messages, and we'll get back to that a little bit later about why that's necessary. You're also able to track the status of your message as it's being sent. On top of all of this, you get the reliability and the stability that we have been building into the Twilio SMS stack for the last 8 or so years. Next, we transform your message. So we have that normalized message that you send to us. We have to change that to the format that the end provider, be it WhatsApp, Line, or anyone else, expects. To do this, there's a few things that we have to look at. We have a couple different examples of payloads here. These are payloads for sending a basic text message through Line, as well as a basic message through WhatsApp. The payloads are similar-ish. They contain the same sort of metadata. And the differences in this will get more complex the more complex your message get. However, it's more than just changing a payload. You also need to look at how does each channel do its authentication. Some use long-lived tokens. Some use shorter-lived tokens or one-use tokens. Do you have to store the authentication token? You'll have to look at what headers each one expect. When it comes to sending media, some you can simply take a URL, pass that through to the provider, and your message will go through. Others, there's some other work involved. Maybe you have to upload it to a URL first, take the response, and then send that identifier through with your message. These are both JSON messages, however, that's not always the case. Sometimes they expect form data, or sometimes there's some channels that even expect some HTML in there. So the differences start to stack up as you dig into each one of these channels. As I said earlier, we didn't want to be writing code to support each of these. We wanted to be able to move a lot faster than that. So we have created a configuration-driven system to do this for us. We are able to write some configuration, deploy that, and have a channel up and running. I think it took about one engineer 2 days to get our Line integration up and running end-to-end, just to show the speed we can move at. Lastly, we have to route and deliver your message. This is simply taking your message, the payload that we've already transformed, and the message we've already transformed into whatever format that provider wants, and sending that to that downstream provider by making a direct API request, or at least most of the time. This brings us to the WhatsApp Business API. For the most part, this API fits in very well with the model I've just described. We can take your normalized message, process it, transform it into the format that WhatsApp expects, and then we need to route it. And this is where things get a little bit different. WhatsApp has some unique features, such as encryption, which have led to some interesting but challenging run-ups. And I'm being a little bit vague purposely about that. We'll get to that in a minute. We have spent the last few months of the summer as a team getting very familiar with what's involved in these run-ups, and Brett is going to come up and tell you a little bit about that. Thanks.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Sweet. All right, so you have now heard from Julie, about how WhatsApp fits into the existing messaging architecture that we use within Twilio. But we wanted to spend a little bit of time to dive into the more specifics about how WhatsApp itself works and the really unique environment that their WhatsApp Business API provides. How many here are familiar with WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption or the peer-to-peer concepts, how they're fairly unique? Has anybody really read into that very much? Okay, a little bit of hands, awesome. So, the main takeaway points here are, unlike most messaging platforms, WhatsApp was designed to be end-to-end encrypted and peer-to-peer. And so what that means is all communication has to flow point-to-point between two mobile devices with unique phone numbers. Each side actually uses rotating keys to encrypt and decrypt the messages, and those keys actually change every single time that you send a message. So the WhatsApp central servers are there purely to just help orchestrate the flow of the messages. They're not at all involved in the decryption or the encryption. They're just there as a routing mechanism. So what that means for the business API is we have to use a device of some sort. And the way WhatsApp Business API handles that is devices are emulated by Docker containers. And those the container images are provided directly from WhatsApp themselves. Those containers have to be run in-house or AWS or Google Cloud. And then your apps, to integrate with WhatsApp, you have to use a web service on one of those containers themselves, as opposed to some central server. Now, one set of containers has to be set up per phone number. It's not per account, it's not per business, it's per phone number. And those sets can be run in multiple configurations. You can do a really simple standalone setup. They also support high availability, what they call multi-connect, which is essentially a load balance solution. And what that means is you can result in anywhere from 6 to 10 or more containers per every single phone number that you have to support within your business. So if you're supporting multiple countries, supporting several phone numbers within a specific region, that really starts to multiply really quickly. Before you even get to that step, there's some registration and verification steps that must happen. In order to actually get started with the containers, you have to go to the Facebook app dashboard or the business manager, which many of you may already be familiar with. You request an app there. You actually have to request access to the WhatsApp Business API product itself, and then register your phone numbers, set up message templates, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Set up your business profile, and then eventually grab an encoded certificate that you later use to register the containers. So once you have all of that from Facebook, only then can you start booting the containers, going through the full process, and then provisioning your accounts and the auth tokens that we'll get into as well. In addition to some the upfront steps, there's also a fair amount of ongoing maintenance involved. There is a pretty aggressive API version deprecation and removal schedule. Currently, they do that on about a 180-day cadence. So that requires having frequent updates, frequent in-depth regression testing. And this is starting to change a little bit, but especially early on during this integration, a lot of the change logs we saw end up being fairly substantial. So the amount of testing involved to make sure that there aren't any breaking changes can be a decent bit of work. Auth tokens, like Julie mentioned, are used to communicate with the containers themselves. The way that they do tokens are not intended to be ephemeral, generated once every time you need it. You instead have to generate them through the API and securely store them. But on top of that, those tokens actually expire every 7 days. So not only do you have to regenerate and repersist them regularly, but unfortunately getting that wrong can lead to your app or the integrations with WhatsApp being completely hard down because they will start rejecting any of your API requests. So if we dig in a little bit more to the WhatsApp API portion of this, again, every single step we've talked about so far has been per phone number. The fleet of containers has a fair amount of upfront and ongoing work. For run-ops organizations or even worse, application teams that don't have a dedicated run-ops team, this can be a fair amount of increased responsibilities. So just like Julie already mentioned, developers don't want to become an expert. Maybe I shouldn't say don't. Some developers don't want to be an expert in every single communication platform we support, let alone the run-ops side. So how we've positioned this within Twilio is taking it a step further, and not only are we giving you the APIs, but we actually act as your run-ops team and remove all of these unique challenges and burdens that the platform carries. We also tackle some of the unique requirements that you would have to handle on your own if you were to just directly integrate with WhatsApp, and most of those are highlighted in blue on the side. Message templates are worth mentioning because they're fairly unique. That's my mouse here. So in order to do sort of an opt-in window, Facebook has a concept of a 24-hour window where anytime you send a message to someone that has not sent you a message or replied to a message within the last 24 hours, you must use a template that has been pre-approved with WhatsApp itself. So out of the box, we're able to provide a mechanism in order to actually handle that. Let me see if I can get my mouse back here. Yeah, I bet you this is why. Bear with me just a second. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. And unlike a lot of asynchronous integrations, WhatsApp sends callbacks through webhooks, and that's how you get your inbound messages. It's also how you get your status callbacks for any messages that have gone out. You also have to support durable queuing and retrial logic and transactional logic. WhatsApp has some time-based issues. They impose rate limits on their side, which is currently set at, I believe, 20 requests per second. They do support a 60 requests per second spike, but the typical baseline is 20 requests per second. So how do you handle that with a durable queue and not actually lose any messages if you start to get close to that? And then there's also identity verification and capability checks. WhatsApp requires you to use the API to validate that the recipient does actually have an account and a mobile app set up. And then, all your standard logging, the life cycle tracking of every single message, and then overall monitoring. And again, this is a lot to handle for communication platforms in general, let alone with some of the WhatsApp's unique characteristics. So we're providing a system where this is truly as a service and there's less to worry about. And again, that last slide focused more on the application logic, but the cooler part of this is focusing more on the actual run-ops. A large part of our service offering is managing that entire fleet of containers for you. We automatically boot and provision and monitor and upgrade containers for every single phone number. We leverage our existing infrastructure and our hardened run-ops that we already use internally to manage our large internal fleet of microservices that power all Twilio products. That infrastructure can be scaled and independently and dynamically. Again, we touched on the auth tokens. We handle that for you. We are ensuring that those are being regenerated well before an expiration event and a hard down event might actually occur. And then we are on deck to manage the API versions, really digging into the change logs, managing any upgrades, going through a really extensive regression testing setup, and then handling any changes. One other area that we're really excited about that we launched alongside with WhatsApp is our sandbox product. The Twilio sandbox for WhatsApp gives you a pre-provisioned set of phone numbers and the containers that go with that you can start to use to immediately start testing this capability. This is the really unique concept within the ecosystem. Through the console, you can get started with those numbers, pair them with message templates, run through tutorials that are directly on the console, and then use that to send messages to and receive messages from any WhatsApp mobile phone number. So it's important to note that this sandbox is full featured. This is not it's not a subset of features that we support. It's the full product, and so you can use that with any other Twilio API or product, just as you would with SMS or any of our other channels. So that includes Studio, Functions, Twiml buckets, recently Flex, quite a bit more. And so you can use this to develop and test and play with WhatsApp prior to starting the full registration process with Facebook. So again, bottom line here, it's a great way to cut your teeth with the channel, but then a full-featured way to get started with the spectrum of Twilio messaging. So what's next for us? In a really short amount of time, we've already seen a huge adoption rate and messaging growth with our service, both from real customer integrations, one of which we'll hear about here in a moment, as well as our sandbox. And we're really excited to continue witnessing that growth. We're actually partnered directly with the WhatsApp team at Facebook, and we continue to improve that ecosystem together as a whole. And it is important to note that this emulator-based solution is not going anywhere anytime soon, and that's thanks to that really unique encryption environment. So we're all in on the architecture for the long term. We know it's going to evolve in some minor ways, but as an overall concept, it's likely to remain. So we continue to make further investments in our own platforms and strategies, as well as being paired with WhatsApp. So you should now know, WhatsApp has become absolutely ubiquitous within a short amount of time. They have 1.5 billion users across the globe. And although their API has some unique challenges, our offering is providing a way to very quickly and powerfully integrate it into your apps while also removing burden. So when you have a moment, sign up for the WhatsApp sandbox in the Twilio console. You can find that in the programmable SMS section. Again, really quick and easy way to get your hands dirty and start building something awesome. Right after this talk, Julie and myself will be outside in the other building. There's a messaging booth. We'll just camp out. If anybody has any questions, wants some help with messaging or WhatsApp or the sandbox in general, we'd love to talk and help get you started. But now we're really excited to welcome Deliveroo, who's been one of our first customers with WhatsApp. They've been doing some incredible things with it very, very quickly. I'm looking forward to having them kind of share their experiences with Twilio and WhatsApp and their products in general. So with that, hand it to Deliveroo. All set.
Can I just use this?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Or that's set up again too, if you'd like.
Perfect. Cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Rahma. I'm a director of engineering at Deliveroo. And this is Amy, who's our product manager for our customer experience team at Deliveroo. And that's Anne, who's a backend engineer for our customer experience team at Deliveroo. Both of these women were very fundamental in Deliveroo's Twilio integration. So just to quickly walk you through the agenda for today, I wanted to start off by telling you guys what Deliveroo is, how we came to be, and what our mission is. Then Amy will take us through customer experience and how crucial it is for our business at Deliveroo. And then finally, Anne will cover the Twilio integration and how that integration enabled us to send order updates with WhatsApp to our customers. So what is Deliveroo? Well, as a tagline, it's about bringing great tasting food straight to your door. Our mission is to become the definitive food company in the world. Similar to how you think of Amazon as a definitive e-commerce company or Spotify as a definitive music company. We want to feed people 3 times a day with great food from their favorite restaurants, all through a reliable service and unparalleled level of convenience. And we've come a long way since we started. Deliveroo was started by Will Shu, that dude up there. He's a New York investment banker who wanted to work late and not stress about the logistics of getting food. He just wanted food to be delivered straight to him so that he could focus on his work. And when he moved to London, he found that it was nearly impossible to get good quality food delivered to him. So he made it his personal mission to bring the best local restaurants direct to customers' door. So much so that he actually became our first rider, and he did that for the first 8 months. And he actually still does that from time to time as the CEO of the company. It's actually a big part of our culture. Several new hires actually do deliveries in their first few weeks to hit the ground running. I actually did one when I started on my first day. So looking back, we've come a long way since we started off 5 years ago in 2013. We're now live in 13 countries globally with over 50,000 restaurant partners, from renowned local gems to your favorite chains. Our tech team started with just 2 people, and now it's over 380 people across product, engineering, design, and research. And we continue to grow and hire. So that's a bit of background about Deliveroo. But just like every business is there to serve their customers, we are no different. our customers are our one true north. We work hard at delivering a good customer experience, but we can't do that alone. We need to work together with our restaurants that make the food and our riders that deliver the food. Without them, we wouldn't be able to offer a great selection and excellent service. And it actually all comes down to communication. We have a very unique challenge of getting everyone involved to get your food to you within 30 minutes. There's actually 3 different groups of people that all need to speak to each other in order to make that happen. So we first start off with our restaurant, where your cheeseburger order had just popped up on the restaurant order manager, which is an Android tablet that looks similar to that. We need to be able to hook that into the restaurant's point of sale system to ensure that your order is being prepared correctly and that we don't forget your skinny fries. We do that seamlessly through our direct point of sales integration. We also work with restaurants on item availability so that we don't allow you to order bacon cheeseburger if the restaurant's out of bacon. And prep time models so that we can accurately estimate the time the restaurant's going to take to prepare your order, even in the busy times. Restaurants can also contact our customer care team to answer detailed customer queries. Once your burger is ready, it's actually time for our Deliveroo riders to shine. Our delivery team has really complex problems to solve. They've created a machine learning algorithm and logistics model to predict our order volume. And to predict things like how many riders need to be on the road at any given point of time, and assigning the right set of riders to the right set of orders. The core of this is our dispatcher. Its hot path is written in Rust so that we can run the algorithm as close to the metal as possible. Our delivery tech team is constantly working to ensure everything works for you behind the scenes and that you can get your accurate notification when your rider has left the restaurant or is close to you. So hopefully during all of this, you weren't just sitting there and staring at your order tracking screen, although some people do that. I do that when I'm really hungry. But now that you've got your notification, it's only natural for you to watch the progress of your rider as it comes towards you on a map. Behind this, we've got a rider location service, which is constantly grabbing pings from a rider's GPS. It's modulated to preserve as much battery as possible. And then using those, we predict and update your location on the app, the rider's location on the app. You can also call your rider once they're nearby and it's safe for them to actually attend your call, or the rider can ring you. And it's all thanks to Twilio, so that we can ensure that you have the ability to connect with your rider and do the burger transfer. So as you can see, there's a lot of tech and some really fun problems involved in getting your burgers from A to B. Talk to me later if you're actually interested in helping us solve those problems. For now, I want to hand it off to Amy, who's going to dig into our efforts to provide a seamless customer experience in more detail.
So what is consumer experience at Deliveroo? For us, the consumer experience engineering team, we think about it as everything past the point of checkout. That means that we look at things like the order tracking experience, which lets our customers know when the rider has collected their food from their restaurant, and allows you to race your rider home if you happen to have ordered while you were on your commute home. We also think of it as the post-order experience. So we know that sometimes we don't get things right. So this helps a customer if something's gone wrong with their order. It allows a customer to tell us that they had a missing item from their order, or that their order was spilled by the rider. And if you need to get in contact with us and speak to an agent, that's us too. We've built a custom tool for our agents, which helps agents to identify who is contacting them and allows them to solve our customers' queries quickly and satisfactorily. So for us, everything that the team is working on right now is about building trust with our customers. And one important way to do that is through open communications. For most people, when they think about communicating with a company and the customer care in that company, they think about relatively standard communication channels that we've all come to know, from sending an email to picking up a phone and contacting a support agent, and more recently, things like live chat. But for us, our customer journey is slightly different. Our average delivery time across all of our markets is less than 30 minutes. And in some cases, it's actually less than 10 minutes. This is an actual order screen from my lunch order. So for our customers, seconds really matter. So it's really crucial that we enable our customers to contact us with the same speed and reliability. So we look at how we can reach out to our customers and keep them informed about the key moments across their order journey, about the moments that we know are really important to them. We spent a lot of time developing and launching notifications across our apps, but we know that customers who order on web miss out on these notifications. This is important because we know that for first-time users, the majority of their orders actually happen through web. And those customers don't usually have an app installed, and so they miss out on these notifications and order experience. Not only that, but some of these notifications are absolutely crucial for a customer to be able to get their food warm to their door. So we wanted to try and deliver this notification-style messages to customers on web too. And that's where we thought WhatsApp could help us. So our engineers started to explore how WhatsApp could fit within our current architecture and services, which Anne's now going to take you through.
Hey, I'm Anne. I'm a backend engineer on the CX team at Deliveroo. And I'm going to walk you through some of the services that I work on day to day and how we essentially built the WhatsApp integration with the Twilio API in 2 short weeks. So as Amy and Rama have already explained, our customers like knowing exactly what is going on with their order. They are hungry people, they are impatient people. So we built a service that keeps them as up to date as possible about their order. So Order Status is Deliveroo's most real-time customer-facing service. And it has to cope with an increasing volume of data as we go through our massive growth globally in all our 13 markets. However, because of this really high visibility and how much our customers rely on it, when something goes wrong, we know very quickly, and our customers like to tell us very quickly. So this means that as engineers, performance and scalability are things we are thinking about all the time, and it's influenced a lot of our technical decisions. So taking a look at it, Order Status is composed of a Kafka consumer, which handles and processes events coming via the Kafka stream throughout all the services at Deliveroo. In order to provide you context about your order's progress, we need to process a lot of data. That can be everything from kind of the expected, the rider has picked up your meal, restaurant prep time, but also the weather is a big thing that we have to consider, and of course the information about the order. Then, in order to provide customers a way to visualize the order journey, we have a web API that delivers real-time information to all our clients. This is a Rails app that is read optimized and takes a view model approach. We made that decision because we wanted to make changes centrally so that they could propagate out with minimal implementation requirements to our 3 clients. So this API supports features like our order tracker, which we've already shown you. So this helps to bridge the context gap for our users. Like right now, I can see that my rider is right around the corner with my order, so I should probably leave my desk and go downstairs and meet him so that he can pick up another order. Now, our customers, the main reason they contact us is to ask, where is my order? Which is pretty relatable if you're hungry, but especially for first-time users. They're up to 2 times as likely to contact us because they haven't yet developed that trust with us. So, we know that the order tracker and the map are great features, but even myself as a customer, I don't like sitting and watching a progress bar in silence while I'm waiting on dinner. I have better things to be doing. So we decided that we had to reach out to our customers at important points in the journey, where they are, rather than making them come to us. So on the back of these Kafka events, like your rider picking up your order, we built triggers to send push notifications to our Android and iOS users. But as Amy said, our web users don't have any of these notifications. WhatsApp is used by over 1.5 billion people. To us, it felt like the perfect opportunity to proactively reach out to users in all our markets and let them know that Jake has picked up your order from Five Guys and he's on the way. So as I said earlier, we had 2 short weeks, thanks Amy, to take our WhatsApp implementation from scope definition to being shipped in all of our 13 markets. So that meant we had to come up with something appropriate for our infrastructure and our architecture and something that was scalable. So in CX, our engineers are already pretty familiar with Twilio's developer-centric approach. We use multiple of their products in order to differentiate our customer care. Everything from phone verification when you're requesting a refund due to number masking so that our riders and our customers can talk to each other safely and securely. So Twilio to us is a really cost-efficient and simple way of testing feasibility of new features. So in terms of actually deciding on the architecture and whether to go WhatsApp and Twilio and how this would actually fit in our systems, I wish for my own selfish reasons and the kudos it would bring of going away to some fancy conference in San Fran, that it was actually a massive hero narrative, a huge effort. I have solved problems nobody has solved before. Or we locked 20 engineers in a war room for 3 weeks with pizza. My manager is very happy I'm going off piece now. But no, reality here, it was quite straightforward. The entire team that built this was a team of 3, and that included our content designer, Harry, who was responsible for the tone and messaging. And we built, tested it, and shipped it in a week, so 5 days. That's how simple and straightforward it was. The implementation slotted really nicely into our existing architecture, given we were already quite familiar with the messaging API. And the resources I had at hand, like documentation, Twilio's engineers, meant that any of my questions were rapidly and neatly answered. So we ended up choosing Twilio's API for WhatsApp because it meant we could focus on the product, not on the complex requirements of WhatsApp's infrastructure. So in terms of the actual user flow, when a user places an order on any of our clients, we persist the client and also the number associated with that order. If they're on web, they then see this banner, which when clicked brings up a modal so that the user can opt into WhatsApp messages about their order. Later on in the journey, when the rider has picked up the order from the restaurant, we receive this information via the Kafka stream. Order status processes it and triggers some Sidekick workers, which via Twilio's API then sends the message to the customer. So in terms of the actual impact it had on the team, Amy's going to take us through that now.
Yeah, so we actually had a really good opt-in rate of this. So 19.5% of customers actually opted in who've seen the banner. So they're now receiving WhatsApp notifications to take them through their order journey. But importantly, we also seen a 26% opt-in rate globally for first-time users, which are ultimately who we were trying to target mostly with this. So what's next for us? Well, the other thing that we wanted to test with this is whether there was an appetite from our customers to actually have two-way communications on WhatsApp. And what we discovered was that the answer was yes. So we started to receive messages back from those notifications, like tell the rider not to ring the doorbell as my baby's sleeping, to just general kudos and emoji speak back from our customers. So Anne's going to give you an overview of what we are thinking about doing next with WhatsApp and Twilio.
So yeah, so as Amy said, WhatsApp seems to be where our customers want to communicate with us. So in light of this, this is where our customer service agents should be too. Our immediate focus is on building two-way persisted messaging. This will enable our customer service agents to have all the history at hand about a user's interaction with our brand, and will give users one channel, one place, where all of their positive and less than ideal order experiences will be captured. So in terms of the actual dev work that's going to be involved, again, it's going to be simple and it's going to be fast. This is a diagram of all the services that we manage within Deliveroo. I've already taken you through order status, but by allowing customers to contact our agents when they're in the order help section via the self-help service, this will allow them to opt in to receiving, starting a WhatsApp communication with our CS agents, which will then open up on our internal products like our AST. Then we'll use the Twilio WhatsApp API and bridge the gap between our order status and self-help in order to not only provide both agents and customers with up-to-date information about the order if something's going wrong, but also enable them to have a productive and fulfilling relationship via WhatsApp. In terms of what's next, within the CX team, we see a number of ways that we can use Twilio's suite of products to actually deliver a differentiated customer experience. Everything from taking advantage of a programmable API so you can watch your burger being fried, through to agent live chat and automated restaurant calls to trigger cancellations so that we can optimize our customer call center efficiencies. So yeah, that's it in terms of exactly what it took for us to build that and our story here at Deliveroo. I think we've got about 5 minutes or so for questions. Straight in there. Let's go for it.
When ordering through like Deliveroo, do you have your own app or do the customers interact directly in WhatsApp?
So customers, do you mean in terms of when you place an order?
Yes.
So at the moment, customers will place an order on either a web app or our mobile apps, and then the current live implementation of WhatsApp is where the customers receive a notification that their order is on the way.
Okay, so they receive that
In WhatsApp.
in WhatsApp.
Yeah. I think we've got an image. Yeah, so that's actually an image of what it looks like in the app now. Hey.
Did you have to do anything to bring together somebody's texting into the phone number versus WhatsApp and identifying that they're the same person or any other sort of channels?
Not really. It was relatively straightforward. So we were able to have the number associated with a specific order. So it was more on an order level rather than regarding them as a specific customer. And then we would send the information off to Twilio, and then that automated messaging would happen. We do have an automated reply at the moment, but we store whether a customer has opted into WhatsApp on that order. So we're able to then iterate on that, hopefully with providing more context about a specific order in a way that's just not a one-size-fits-all automated message. Yep.
You mentioned number masking. I assume that's something you put together yourself using Twilio pieces without
GDPR.
So I didn't do it myself, but yeah, that's pretty much what we've done. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
What does the opt-in look like for the consumer? Do they just receive this message in their inbox, or do they have to somehow accept it?
No, so this is because WhatsApp operates on you have to have opted in. The customer has to have opted in. So because we're a verified brand, even if you don't have this number saved, you will see Deliveroo. And because we are sending it off with that explicit opt-in, the customer will just have this in. It's not a thing of like, this is an unknown number or anything like that.
So you're telling Twilio and then WhatsApp that you are using?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm really sorry, I can't hear you.
Test.
I mean, anecdotally, I have Netflix, so I get told every Friday that there's a new episode of The Good Place on, which was quite helpful on Friday when I was flying out.
I think that was the question. Yeah, it's just like how popular are you seeing WhatsApp as a medium so far? Like, are a bunch of other brands jumping on around the same time, or are you one of the first?
I know that with Twilio, there was a small number of brands that kind of did it as a pilot. Outside of that, I'm not sure, but Amy, do you have more context about that? But I know there was a small number of brands with Twilio that did this as a pilot. Within Deliveroo, this campaign was actually had one of the highest conversion rates ever, particularly on that banner. On that banner, we've seen something like less than 5% for other tests, whereas this was over 26% for first-time users. Good question. I suppose this is where a lot of people actually have and contain most of their messages at the moment. Like when I receive a push notification on the app, it's something I instantly dismiss. I'm not interested in it because I get so many push notifications. And actually in our order journey, you might have something like 5 notifications, right? You get a rider assigned, rider picks up at the restaurant. Maybe there's a delay, the rider's around the corner, the rider's outside your door. Having those multiple notifications from the app versus just having it in one place with all the context, that would probably, from my perspective, be the biggest benefit.
Yeah, actually, I have a question for Twilio. Is this GA already available for any brand, or?
It's technically still in beta release, and a lot of that is our constraints with Facebook itself. They're doing pretty slow rollouts of the WhatsApp product. We would love to be able to onboard people as fast as we can, but it is limited to Facebook accepting you into the WhatsApp Business API product. So.
I think that's our time, but we'll be around. We'd love to meet you and talk to you more.
Right,
and I know the Twilio team would be really excited to hear all your questions. But thanks very much.
Thank you.